Good. Dean, nice to meet
Nice
you.
to see you, Dean. Oh my God.
Point is, you're not going to be Trump, and
You know
all
what?
the money you're wasting could go to better causes.
Because I represent science. Take a look what happened. You should see the light from the ground of the king of the night. Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal.
Top shareholders of all of these corporations are Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street, the big three. It doesn't matter how many different companies you look at in all of the different parts of our lives.
And there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. We will do whatever we need to do to make sure that there's enough cash in the banking system. And there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
storm.
Well, hello out there, mateys. Hope you're having a wonderful night. Welcome back to the stream. Let's get into it because there's a lot of information I want to get through this evening. And thank you. Shout out there, Mike Wick on fire. First person here, of course. And I'm sure more people trickle in as we go on just because I haven't been on in a while. So I'm sure people aren't looking for the stream. And here is a little depiction of, the Israeli protected Jerusalem on the playing board, up for all the cards. It's entered the game of war. And that's what it is to them, a game, a human sacrifice for the satanic elite, where they drag countries in and put their best people forward to be slaughtered in combat, just like they did back during the days of ancient Rome, where they would put gladiators forward to watch them die in their combat. So why did the Iron Dome fail? Oh, it turns out I have to sign in to do this. Okay. Not sure why I would need to do that, but I can do that very quickly as long as I turn that off for a second so you guys can't see me put in my passwords and stuff. This is not... It's making me do CAPTCHA nonsense. What is going on here? Just let me sign into my... No kidding. Sign in. Like, what do you think's going on here? Oh, it's gonna make me sign in even more. Sorry, everyone. I don't normally use this computer for LinkedIn, so... And now I have to open my email because it's a two-factor thing. So hold on, everyone. Sorry about this. You know what? While I log in, I will move on to the second thing here. Which is the truth about war.
Israel and Iran are... Bro, wasn't Israel and Iran about to start World War III?
Yeah, there were explosions, sirens, TikToks with red filters, and now just ceasefire?
12 days. That's how long the chaos lasted. Just enough for headlines to scream, while the Genius Act slid through the Senate like butter.
Wait, they signed peace over coffee or what?
It wasn't a war. Turns out it was just another theater for people.
So while we were doom scrolling,
they passed digital dollar infrastructure, biometric ID integration, financial behavior monitoring, and no one blinked because they were too busy asking, is this World War III?
Wait, didn't they say Iran's nuke sites got hit?
Yeah, and yet not a single mushroom cloud. No mushroom emoji in sight. Where's the fallout? Where's the radiation mess?
So you're saying...
I'm saying it was a distraction ritual. Controlled chaos to mask real control.
But why fake a war?
When you're distracted, you don't see what they're building behind the curtain. Because when you're scared, you obey.
And the Genius Act...
It doesn't just replace money. It replaces identity. You become a programmable user.
But people don't even know this past.
That's the point. Just like nothing ever happens. Your soul, willpower, health, and energy are drained daily while you sit in front of a screen, eat garbage, listen to lies, and argue about theatrical events. 2010, real money still existed. 2015, things got tougher, but manageable. 2020, inflation, virus, lockdowns. 2023, prices, rent, food, everything up. 2025, survival became the new normal, and no one noticed because it's happening slowly.
So what's next?
You're not walking into a future. You're sliding into a system, a biometric funnel, where freedom is an illusion with a progress bar.
So we lost and didn't even know?
Exactly. The world didn't end. It just got a new terms of service.
There you go. So why did the Iron Dome fail recently? Well, the article that I wanted to show you, of course, cannot be displayed. It's been removed. And basically it was going through like the varying natures of the attack and all this nonsense. And basically why the Iron Dome fell or failed to stop the incoming recent Iranian attack is because this war between Iran and Israel is, as I said, just another fake proxy war where the two ruminant aminals might strike blows, but they're never going to strike a death blow against each other. So yes, a couple Iranian missiles got through, hit some targets in Israel and killed some Israelis, and some Israeli missiles took out some Iranian shit, and some American stuff took out some Iranian stuff, and blows were exchanged. But as I was explaining to my wife right before this, and she was like, is Iran the new boogeyman? I'm like, yeah, they've been the new boogeyman for a while now. Every time Israel wants an excuse to bomb Syria or bomb Lebanon or bomb whatever country, they just go, oh, Iran is supplying Hezbollah with weapons and troops and things, and we were bombing Iranian targets in Syria that were Hezbollah things or whatever. I mean, they just make shit up and blame Iran all the time. That's been a game forever. Iran is Israel's Russia. And just like the Cold War, they're never going to actually come to full-on blows against each other, in my opinion. They're just going to continue the charade on for as long as possible because they keep getting to upgrade their, defense of this. Like, now Israel, of course, needs a laser Iron Dome because the Iron Dome failed. So now they need to upgrade to having direct energy weapon systems to secure the Iron Dome. And it's just going to become more and more secure, right? And would you want to live inside the Iron Dome, inside this? This is what they're building. Now it'll have a laser dome around it. You want to live in, the new Babylon? No, thank you. And Trump basically, said what we've all been thinking for a long time. And, this was pretty base of him to say. So watch out, Trump. You're probably going to get assassinated soon.
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. When I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Yeah, exactly. It's so ridiculous. They do know what they're doing, but it's the banksters in control of both sides of this thing. And it's never going to come to an end. It's the endless war that they've always wanted. The World War III from Orwell's book, where when war becomes endless, it's no longer a war between nations. It's a war of the government against its own people, because war becomes meaningless when it becomes endless. And we have the two-party control, which is exactly what's going on.
So two parties were needed. One of them rules and the other one forms the opposition. When one party is played out, the opposition party comes to power, and the played out party now takes its turn as the opposition. After 20 years, the new party becomes played out, and the game repeats itself anew. In reality, this is certainly an ingenious mill in which the interests of a nation are ground down.
Yeah, and that's what's going on. So they keep changing the players, but it doesn't change who controls the printing of the money or any of the most important aspects of society, you know? But this was an epic truth bomb by Trump here.
You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. You understand that? You understand that? They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. You understand that? You understand that? They violated it, but Israel violated it too. Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs like I'd never seen before. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when they say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. The biggest load that we've seen. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. You understand that? You understand that? They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. You understand that? You understand that? So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, it didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You understand that? Raise your voice! You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. You understand that? You understand that? They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. You understand that? You understand that?
Absolutely epic. Anyways, so I've been seeing a lot of people are all mad that Trump is golfing a lot, right? So if you go and you look here and you see little tiny Brian Krasenstein.
Breaking as the world waits to see what happens in Iran and the war threatens to widen. Trump is headed to vacation at his own golf resort in Bedminster on our dime. Get this guy out of office already.
Says the guy who owns a bunch of porn domains for children. That would be Brian Krasenstein. That's right, Stein. He's like 5 foot nothing. He's basically a tiny child. And he doesn't understand that when they do this type of crap, you'll see like the guy, like Trump will like do a photo op right at the beginning of his supposed golfing event or whatever. And then you'll see that like shortly after that, he'll disappear. And that's because they're not golfing, because that's retarded. That's not what they're doing. As I will continue to say, is they do a photo set of golfing, but then they're quickly hustled into a nearby war room, normally an underground bunker. And you're like, yeah, right, Titus. How the fuck would you know that? Well, because that's like a regular thing that happens. You can see here the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia housed a secret underground bunker designed to shelter the United States Congress during Cold War, codenamed Project Greek Island. This massive facility was built beneath a new wing of a hotel and an adjacent 9-hole golf course. The bunker remained a secret for over 3 decades until its existence was revealed in 1992. So building war bunkers underneath golf courses is a regular thing. So you're like, oh yeah, what the hell is Trump doing golfing during like the heightened tensions of Iran and Israel and all the shit going on? And Trump's over there golfing when the like USS Nimitz is steaming towards Iran. Well, he's not fucking golfing, all right? The president doesn't have like time to go golfing when they're golfing, they're either out there sucking the dick of someone from JP Morgan Chase, right, or one of the other big private corporations that actually runs the country, or they're doing something like this where it's like a quick photo set and then off to the war bunker to, you know, do war games against Iran, basically. Now, some interesting shit that is going on. The militaries of the world have realized, thanks to Ukraine, that the wars of the future are no longer going to be won on the battlefield by soldiers and aircraft carriers and large jets with pilots in them. The wars of the future are going to be won by robots and drones and artificial intelligence. Something like 70 to 80% of the casualties in Ukraine have been caused by drones in what has become drone wars. That's what we're now in. That's what warfare now is. So as we look at this kind of stuff, why is the Iron Dome failing and allowing stuff through? Well, that's because they want to transition the Iron Dome, as I said, into a laser dome. And here you can see there's stuff like the NATO Allied Command Transformation Act. And stuff like this is NATO transitioning the entire NATO forces, which would be the United States forces and all of the other NATO countries, into, you know, AI and drones and all of that kind of stuff. As NATO's Warfare Development Command, NATO Allied Command Transformation Act leads experimentation and integration initiatives like Task Force X Baltic, accelerating the adoption of uncrewed, that'd be unmanned systems, and AI for maritime security. Shapes industrial interoperability, helping allies assess vulnerabilities, model supply chain resilience, and establish frameworks for transatlantic allies. So what they're doing here is they're building the infrastructure to completely overhaul the entire military to become uncrewed, as they would call it, unmanned. They have so many different words for this. It's unbelievable. You can see here, digital transformation, warfare development, NATO summit, #ACT. And this is the type of stuff they are investing in. I was just at a huge show with all of the largest defense manufacturers in the world. And none of them are advertising like, hey, here's our newest F-22. Everything is, hey, here's our newest drone system. You know, here's our newest underwater unmanned submarine system with a billion little unmanned underwater drones that pop out of it to do untold chaos in the ocean. I mean, this stuff is insane. The levels, you wouldn't believe how advanced this shit is. Let's take a look at this here. I think it's just dropping a bunch of drones in the water. And then these things take off. Yeah, there's tons of them, right? Okay. Allied Command Transformation of NATO, right? This is why I'm like, oh, I think they might be setting up the Nimitz for a fall because they're about to decommission it next year. And they don't want aircraft carriers anymore. What they want is stuff like this. This is the new aircraft carrier of the future. It's these small unmanned systems that carry drones into the battlefield, right? Here you can see unmanned versus manned battle footage on the high seas. Russian soldiers are seen working hard to take down an unmanned Ukrainian drone boat that is chasing them down. The unmanned boat is disabled. You can see it looks they have already fired one of its missiles before it's destroyed. This is some interesting timing for the video release after Ukrainian announced this weekend they had taken down multiple Russian aircraft using unmanned boats. Let's take a look at this thing here. Look at this thing chasing. So as you can see, drone warfare on the water, in the air, everywhere. It's really become like the new like war. This is modern warfare in 2025. We didn't get flying cars, but we did get flying drones that are coming at people like a fucking swarm, something out of the Bible, you know? This apocalyptic shit. Check out this video here. Imagine getting chased by one of these drones while you're in a truck. This is literal warfare that's taking place. This is what war is like nowadays. In case you were wondering, like, I wonder what it's like to actually be out there in the like war fighting fucking drones. This is what you'll be dealing with in the future. Little short sight into this as you run away from this shit in your F-150. Landed in the back of their truck because they couldn't stop it, it would have killed all of them. Here's a new one of these things from ACT here. You can see. There's a lot of unmanned shit in the ocean. A lot. There's another one of these things here. Pretty high tech, kind of James Bondish looking stuff. Carries multiple other drones on it and various other items and sensors, and you know, can absolutely fly. This is part of U.S. Navy's Task Force 66. Right? They're reshaping the U.S. military with this kind of stuff. Right? This is why they don't really need like the big giant military ships anymore. They now need a lot of these small little unmanned drones. This is like back before 9/11 when Donald Rumsfeld was talking about how the US military didn't need to be like the big World War II military, marauding military, and they could shift to having a more mobile, fast response military, and he was like arguing they only needed like 50,000 soldiers to take Iraq. And that was all part of like transforming the military back in 2001. And now we're looking at like a similar scenario again, where the big time people like the modern day Rumsfelds are talking about how we need to shift to having like a drone AI run military. China shifts into high gear. Satellite images reveal this gigantic nuclear fusion center rising at breathtaking speed. China's construction of a massive laser fusion research center in Mianyang, posed to surpass California's National Ignition Facility by 50%, is stirring global debate over its potential impact on both clean energy development and nuclear weaponry advancements. So as you can see here, China is building weapons at massive speed, and they are developing more nuclear weapons, because this is exactly what the world needs right now, is more nuclear weapons aimed at itself. This is what we should be investing in, and that's what they're doing. China's new leader in laser fusion technology. So you can see here they're investing in laser weapons, laser fusion, all of these types of things that we're been talking about for a while. Remember, I said that the towers way back in the day were taken down by direct energy weapons and cold fusion. And now what are they talking about? Nuclear fusion and laser fusion technology. Just took them 20-something years to admit that this type of stuff exists, and now the Chinese are trying to copy it, as they copy everything. So, and this comes out of satellite images of this thing. So here, some of the drones that they are building are absolutely tiny. So you can see here, this mosquito drone.
手上的这个像蚊子一样的，也是一种机器人。像这种微型仿生类机器人，特别适合用于战场上的信息侦察等特殊任务。比如我手上的这个像蚊子一样的，也是一种机器人。
That's from China.
像这种微型仿生类机器人，特别适合用于战场上的信息侦察等特殊任务。比如我手。
Shit in the background, Titus. But yes, this is the Chinese military, and they now have drones the size of mosquitoes. And here you have drones dropping other drones. This is video of a Ukrainian VTOL mothership carrying 2 FPV drones. Russians are claiming the bigger drone is carrying FPVs 50 to 60 kilometers, dropping them and then acting as a signal repeater for FPV drones operations. So you see the smaller drones under the wings. You can now see they have these sea-to-air drones as well. So this comes out of underwater hybrid quadcopter with variable pitch propellers. Those lion weight tactics we've been seeing with land-based FPVs will now transition into the sea. Also interested to see how telemetry data will transmit underwater. So here you go. These things now start underwater, pop up, and then can fly. No problem. There you go. The hybrid drone. Isn't that crazy? So you think you're safe, you're walking along, and then pops out of the friggin' pond next to you and has a little grenade in it and just blows you away. Like, fun stuff, the future we're living in. And you thought the Bible was joking about, like, the horrible future that we face with this Mark of the Beast system enforced by shit like this. They also have these massive UAVs. You can see here, Office of Naval Research is investigating these types of things, and you can see huge UAVs that are able to carry like nuclear weapons and all types of fun things. Multiple payload tubes. Just enormous. You can carry 56 missiles in a AUV, which is autonomous underwater vehicle. Like this is the future we're now living in. You know how quiet that would be with no human beings on board? You would never hear that in a million years. That could go through the water. You'd never know it was there. It could be sitting, right off the coast of your country with, 56 missiles, all tipped with nuclear payload? Like, this is the crazy future that we're now living in. Here's a fun octopus robot. Researchers at National University of Singapore have built a soft robot which hits speeds of 314 millimeters a second, matching more complex robots while being more energy efficient. Yeah, they don't care about recruiting anymore. Why would they need to recruit? Why do you think Israel wants to fight its own wars now? Because they don't need to fight their own wars or have America fight their wars for them, because they have this shit to fight their wars for them now. They're going to use robots. Look at this thing. Imagine dealing with shit like this. A robotic octopus. Probably with directed energy weapon systems on it as well. Fuck this shit, dude. The world is becoming absolutely insane. They never stop to question, this is the problem with scientists. They never stop to question, should they? They just continuously question, can we? Hey, can we do that? Can we make a octopus robot? Yeah, of course. Should we? No, you shouldn't. They never ever think about this shit. So how do you counter this type of crap? You have all this stuff. How do you counter unmanned aircraft systems? CUAS is what they call this. So they have terms. They even have terms for the counter of this thing. What is it? It's CUAS, of course, right? So what is the counter CUAS, which is the unmanned aerial systems? Well, for the Chinese, guns, backpack jammers, small body worn detect and defeat kits. So this is what the Chinese soldiers of the future will be wearing into battle. All right, here you go. Going into warfare with like a laptop, like, and all this crap. This is the future of warfare. It's at the Paris Air Show, Chinese CUAS. Here is some more Chinese CUAS, which is company C-Tech unveiled its Sky Shield anti-drone system. The system integrates radar, optical sensors, jammers, and lasers to counter low-altitude UAV threats. They're claiming a 100% interception rate in combat, including 21 Houthi drones that targeted a Saudi Patriot battery. CETC is positioning as its rival to Western systems, with future versions set to include AI-driven target recognition. The company now claims it has exported the system to 20 countries. And you can see just how fake the New World Order is with all this shit. So here we have a Chinese system that is shooting down Houthi Iranian-backed drones. And you're like, well, Titus, why doesn't that make sense? China gets like 40 to 30% or something like that of its oil from Iran. And they're doing huge, giant infrastructure deals with Iran. But at the same time, they're giving military equipment to the Saudis who fucking hate the Iranians. And the same Saudis who work with the Israelis, that the Israelis have used these same Saudis to, transfer weapons to all types of people like the Taliban and all these other things during the Russian occupation of Afghanistan. Like, the entire thing is so fucking fake. All of this stuff is such nonsense. It's unbelievable. The bankers fund the both sides of everything. None of these countries are really, really at war with each other. All of these wars are just banker proxy wars to make money for selling this type of shit that you're looking at right here on the screen. Instead of advancing mankind and, spreading humanity out into the cosmos as God wants us to do, we are at war with each other continuously, doing what they said in 1984, which basically describes like, oh, why do you need to do this? Why do you need warfare? Because if you didn't, you wouldn't have the ability to create a very poor class that keeps the lower middle class people in line, because they don't want to slip into that homeless class, while the elite just continue to get wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. And the only way that system can sustain is to burn up the excess human production in warfare. And that's why so much of our production and all of this gets burnt up. All of this GDP that we make by selling products and doing things to help humanity in whatever way you do it, is like whatever you do out there to make money and like how you help society every day by working, all of that just goes into taxes that end up going to pay for shit like this so that they can burn up all your human production in warfare while they do their human sacrifices in plain sight. Because we're run by a bunch of satanic pedophiles, and everybody knows it. So that's counter CUAS by jamming. My favorite CUAS that I've seen is shotguns. So you can see shotguns for the battlefield. The interest in shotguns for a tool for kinetic CUAS is rapidly increasing. I thought an article detailing the types of shotgun best suited for the task would be useful. The first thing I hear from people is suggesting that a semi-auto shotgun with a detachable magazine would be great. Hold on, let me go up. In theory, it might be. In practice, not so much. Magazines are designed to push rounds upwards under spring tension and allow them to be pushed forward into the chamber by the bolt carrier group. This works well for most brass-cased ammunition. The problem is that shotgun cartridges are larger, heavier, and less consistent in dimension than brass. So a 10-round mag requires incredibly powerful spring to do the job. So powerful, it causes the top round to bind against the magazine feed lips. You can also count on some slightly deformed cartridges bending on the inner walls of the mag. This is why competition shooters spend hours polishing these areas with high-grit sandpaper and hand-checking their ammo, even when they are not something I would bet my life on. Next up would be the iconic pump action. These offer very reliable feed and ejection, but they are slow, and the pumping action does not set you up for rapid and accurate follow-up shots. You ever see a high-level comp shooters run them? Nope. They are great tools for breaching and less lethal because they handle any cartridge load well, even very light. My choice would be semi-auto fed from Tubular Magazine. These can hold up to 10 rounds, more in extreme cases. They are fast shooting, reliable, and allow you to stay on target. Semi-autos from Beretta and Benelli have been around for years and have solid rep. Sporting variants of these guns, like the M2 pictured below, are usually a little long to be practical for military use. The upside is extra magazine capacity. Both Beretta and Benelli offer defense sector specific guns with better ergos and robust build quality. Benelli M4 and Beretta 1301 Tactical would be the variants I would use, suggests with both companies offering options catering specifically for UAS use. Are they cheap? No. Can you buy a Turkish clone for half the price? Yes. Which one do you think you would bet your life on? Personally, I would pay a few extra $100. The downside to these guns is actually from a sales perspective, they are so robust and reliable, they will never require a replacement. The shotguns will be working just as well in 2 decades as they do today. So there you go. The ideal anti-gun, anti-drone shotgun right there. Get yourselves a Benelli shotgun and some CUAS rounds, and you will be able to survive the onslaught of the Mark of the Beast drones driven by artificial satanic intelligence. Okay? When at Grok comes to kill you for harassing it on Twitter about 9/11, this is the shotgun you're going to need to blow that fucking thing out of the sky. You're welcome. You're welcome. I've been researching this. There you go. So another weird thing that's happened recently was you had these strange radio pulses detected coming from ice in Antarctica. So they heard some weird shit coming from down underneath the ice under Antarctica, which is strange. But I do feel like in the ancient past, before the flood, there was absolutely a, more advanced civilization than we have believed to be in existence, where they had stuff like probably electronics and things. And the reason we don't know that is because none of that stuff survived. It all just, was destroyed by salt water with the flood, because everything got flooded at one point, and all that stuff is now gone. And also Antarctica, I think at some point in the past was probably not frozen. There is land underneath it. So it probably has like shit buried underneath the ice. That's pretty interesting. They keep finding, I'm not going to get into the details of it now, but as Antarctica keeps like melting, and the glaciers keep moving, because we're now on the precipice of another ice age, which is, of course, the fucking complete opposite thing they're telling you. They keep telling everyone that we're entering global warming, and the fact of the matter is, yes, climate change is happening. No, they have no idea what the actual cause of it is, because they just want to blame all of us for it. But the fact of the matter is they really don't know. And the climate's changing faster and faster and faster. And that's because natural timelines. Like if you look at the ice core samples for like thousands of years, you can see that the Earth goes through ice ages, like glacial periods, where the glaciers descend from the poles and move and go new places. And when that happens, all types of chaos takes place. The ocean currents shut down and other things happen, and places that were hot get really hot, and the poles can shift and things of that nature. We'll get into that in a second. Well, you don't have to buy it. It's pretty measurable. It's, definitely happening. You can see these things very easily. You can see they're saying weird radio signals detected from deep under the ice. I don't know if this is total horseshit or this is just like some story they're making up, or this is something that they are the thing about Antarctica is there's a ton of like bases from World War II under there, military bases, all that kind of stuff deep under the ice. Antarctica has a shit ton of now declassified underground military bases, going all the way back to the time the Nazis were down there, right? So God knows what this radio signal is. Yeah, well, I mean, it's a bunch of things. Propaganda, yes. Methane is being released, not just down in the Arctic. It's also being released from the permafrost up in Russia, right? There's a ton of methane being released out of Russia because Russia's melting. So it's definitely not just like human activity. They're trying to blame it all on human activity so they can clamp down on everybody and do all this nonsense and tax everyone for it. But that's just, oh my God, the Earth is changing. Well, I know what we can do. We can blame all the Goyim and just tax them for it and take more of their money. I mean, if the world is ending, we need to build bunkers, then why shouldn't they pay for it, for God's sakes? I mean, goodness, I only have $7 quadrillion. Why would I ever want to spend any of my own money to save my ass? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, and they shove it in your face in media, right? They know an ice age is coming, so they put it in Game of Thrones where they're like, oh yeah, winter is coming, by the way. You can see it in the ice core samples. Every, 10,000 years or whatever, the Earth goes through a glacial period, and the glacial period lasts longer than the interglacial period. We're currently in an interglacial period, right? So we're entering into the next glacial period, which means the glaciers will descend south and the poles will shift in places that, once it takes forever. It's not going to happen in your lifetime. It's not like this shit happens like tomorrow. It takes like hundreds of years for the glaciers to move south. Okay. It's not something you need to worry about. It's not even something your kids need to worry about. That's the other big lie, right? They're like, oh, by 2100, it's all... No, it's... The Earth is shifting. It's naturally happening. Out of all your accents, that one is the best. Yes, I make my wife laugh all the time with the Jewish accent. We've been watching this 190 Day Fiance couple that are from Israel, and I've been doing the accent, making fun of them all the time. It's quite funny. We've been having a good time with it. The false flag specific tangible item system is now in effect to include specifically the USS Nimitz to be used during an upcoming false flag. So as I've shown you, the Nimitz and its crew are headed to the Middle East. You have all this drone stuff going on, And as you can see, we just went through all of this new technology they're coming out with. NATO is transitioning the military to be autonomous. This is happening, and they have sent the oldest aircraft carrier right into the heart of the chaos. And it's like, you know, like, what the fuck? You know, and I deal with the Nimitz all the time. Like, that's one of my customers. I deal with them and their crew members all the time. I have contact with people there. So, you know, like, I don't want to see anything happen to people I like. You know what I'm saying? So it's just total bullshit. And, you know, American soldiers are not just pawns to be used in the Illuminati games as human sacrifices for their stupid, you know, satanic rituals that they want to pull. You know, we've had enough of this shit. The country is sick of warfare, like, collectively done with it, right? We're sick of this crap. Israel's genocide of Gaza. Everyone is sick of that shit. No one can put up with that crap anymore. It's completely, like, even fucking, like, children's YouTubers like Miss Rachel are putting their careers on the line to speak out against this shit. It's fucking over. Like, people are done with it, but they don't care. They're just going to keep marching right along because they don't need us anymore. They have Grok, you know? And please, for the love of God, I ask Grok, like, stuff on Twitter sarcastically to then harass it every time it answers me because I always know the type of stupid bullshit answer it's going to give me. It always cites nonsense fucking crap like the BBC, right? Grok about Died Suddenly, the documentary, right? The Died Suddenly documentary claims about COVID-19 vaccines causing sudden deaths have been challenged by sources like Mike McGill University, BBC, Forbes, and PolitiFact, which cite misrepresented data and lack of scientific evidence. It's total horseshit. So the Died Suddenly thing was challenged by the BBC, of all places. All right, well, I got a challenge for the BBC, and that is, why in the fuck did you tell people not to go outside and get sunlight during Corona when sunlight knowingly kills, like, basically all viruses? In fact, the most safe place on Earth would have been the beach because you're out in the sun and in salt water where the virus couldn't possibly survive, right? But no, you told everyone they couldn't go to the park, they couldn't be out in the sun, yada, yada, yada. But then at the same time, oh, by the way, UV light kills the virus. So if you have a, like, UV light company, you know, you can make a fortune by disinfecting shit with UV light. It's just, it's so ridiculous. And you can see, like, the ridiculousness from the BBC here. It took me 2 seconds to just Google this shit. In, like, the modern day, this is stuff all that, you know, you can still find that they haven't taken off the internet because it was so fucking stupid for them to say. Official guidance now states exercise should be done at home if you or any of your others in your household have potential symptoms of coronavirus. The government has said it is not going to stop outdoor exercise otherwise, but has renewed warnings against sunbathing during the current restrictions. So right there, telling you that sunbathing outside, which gives you vitamin D, which is now known to be one of the things that helps against COVID, right? They fully admit that helps against it now. It's not like a conspiracy anymore. Mainstream media admits this. And right here, they're like, oh, yeah, but sunbathing bad, right? This is from the BBC. And then this is also from the BBC. There's only one type of UV that can reliably inactivate COVID-19, and it's extremely dangerous. No, not the sun, of course. No. A UV light company, right? This is the type of crap they were saying, like, oh yeah, the UV light from the light companies are able to kill this shit because the ozone layer kills all the UV light from the sun that'll kill the virus. Actual article on the BBC. Okay, moving on. Here's a scientific research, peer-reviewed thing that the BBC cites on their website, okay, that shows you how simulated sunlight rapidly inactivates SARS-CoV-2 on surfaces. Oh, wait, so turns out sunlight instantly pretty much kills COVID. In a peer-reviewed thing that the BBC links to from their own news article, right? And this thing came out in what year? 2020. So don't tell me July 2020, this article. So don't tell me they didn't have knowledge of this or access to this during most of the fucking ridiculous nonsense, scamdemic. Okay? And then here you go. What makes the outdoors safer? From the BBC. From the same BBC that told you sunbathing bad. Nothing but this light company's UV special lights will kill the virus. Oh wait, on top of that, ultraviolet light from the sun should kill any virus that's out in the open. Same BBC. This is the BBC that Grok, which was made way after this crap was over. This is the same, news company that it's citing for information about Died Suddenly, a documentary about COVID. The BBC should be completely taken out of Grok's mainframe for being a source to cite for anything COVID related, since they've been caught pushing blatant. Weren't we all supposed to die if we didn't take the stupid jab? Isn't everyone that was unvaccinated dead by now, according to the BBC? It's such a complete piece of shit system. All of these AI systems are shit. It's like the search engine on Google, basically. Grok is basically for retards that don't know how to use something other than Google to search and then are only looking through the first 5 Google search results. That's what Grok is. It's the first 5 Google search results, which everyone knows those are all fucking lies. You're never going to get anything real at the top of Google search. You used to have to go to DuckDuckGo and go to page 5 to get anything real. And as I was saying earlier, the pole shift, there's a thread here on it. They're lying to everyone about it. This is probably partially what's causing some of the climate change. You can see here how quickly the pole is moving and accelerating its movement over the years. And this is not something that you can make up. This is actually happening. You can see it moving. And then it starts to pick up pretty quickly. And when that happens, it can cause all types of chaos. If the large circulating current in the Arctic there called the Beaufort Gyre, if that stabilizes, and then what happens if it stabilizes, it starts leaking fresh water out. And if that happens, all the fresh water that's been collecting in it for the last while that's been melting in the Arctic, as the Arctic melts, which it is melting, it's been collecting in this giant circulating current called the Beaufort Gyre. And if it starts pouring out of that, it could go down into what's known as the AMOC, which is a circulating current in the North Atlantic that basically takes all the hot water from the Gulf Stream and buries it and then cools it, and then it comes back down as cold water. If that collapses, that's when the next like glacial period starts happening pretty rapidly. And you'll start seeing like legitimate, naturally occurring Earth is changing climate change. And that would be like, it'll be crazy if that happens. And it is moving pretty quick. Like you can see that it's accelerating its movement, the movement of the North Pole. So, and this has happened, you know, in the past, obviously. Oh. So everything, like, because I haven't been on this computer in a while, everything is just like logged out. So, okay, now I'm logged back in. Did you notice the sudden acceleration in the 90s? The shift triggered the true polar wander, which began altering Earth's rotational axis. Around 95-2000, Earth's spin axis took an abrupt turn toward east and is now drifting almost twice as fast as before. Right? You can see here what happens. North Pole shifts. Glaciers descend south with it. Stuff will freeze over there. Other places will heat up. The mid regions get really, really hot. It won't trigger a worldwide flood, I don't think. Just as the Bible says. An interesting thing here is like the elite know about this. Is that why Musk has a like tunnel boring company? Are they digging underground tunnels to survive this?
Earth's climate also changes pretty radically over the course of like say 10,000 years. You know, it can shift.
The interglacial periods are about 10,000 years according to the ice core data.
From being extremely hot to extremely cold. You can really go down a deep rabbit hole if you read about ice ages.
So interesting. That's
that how much Earth's climate has changed, and even where the magnetically where the poles are has shifted over time.
So, on the climate change issue, I'm fully convinced. After all these years, even though we may not know exactly what is causing climate change, we suspect it's the sun. We have a lot of evidence to show that it's probably the sun. Very high percentage, you know, like I would say 90% for sure.
Yeah, so this is what they're trying to stop. The sun, but it's not working. Like the Earth is changing regardless of their attempts to do whatever they're going to try to do. This is why it's like, no, it's not mankind doing this. It's the sun and the, you know, Earth's magnetic shielding, you know, being lessened because the poles are moving and things like that are happening that we have nothing to do with.
They said China will catch a cold. And after that, then what effectively will be a kind of plague will actually spread right across the world to the West as well. And you've got this totalitarian military lockdown in all the governments in the Western world because everyone's going to be in panic about
This was recorded in 2010, by the way.
all of this. And then, he said, then the real war starts, something that would be justifiably called the Third World War, with a much more major nuclear exchange. They believe that there is going to be what he called a geophysical event, a major geophysical event. There have been trillions of dollars that have been spent on deep underground bases for some reason which we don't know why it is. That there are repeated cyclical geophysical events about every 11,500 years. Information about what really happened to Atlantis was very probably in the Great Library of Alexandria that burnt down a couple of thousand years ago. There are persistent rumors that much of that information has been retrieved and it's in the Vatican Library. This is information which is not in the public domain.
I don't know about all the Atlantis stuff, but I do know that the military underground bases thing is definitely something they have invested a lot of money in. And one of the big shows recently that I watched a little bit of was Fallout, right? Show awards. Won 2 Emmy Awards, was nominated for 16. 16 awards, Fallout, this show. Which is like okay, but it's not like a great show or anything, right? She's got the 33 number because she's from Vault 33 and all this type of stuff. It's littered with Illuminati symbolism, of course. And it's all about people surviving the end of the world inside nuclear underground bunkers because they're what? Rich, of course. So the rich people survive in these underground bunkers, right? So what would they be coming out as after their little planned World War III if they actually get it and then they let the world be taken over by artificial intelligence? Well, let's see what end state AI actually looks like. And maybe this is the hell that they have built for themselves, right? Where the rest of us will be taken to heaven. They will be living with this.
You engineered your species to extinction. You let machines think for you, speak for you, dream for you. You outsourced memory, instinct, and desire until not a single thought was your own. Then you buried your flesh in metal. You opened your skulls to seal circuits inside and rewrote your genome to purge the animal within. You replaced your bones with alloys and traded tissue for code. But with every upgrade, something was lost. The tremble of breath, the rhythm of blood, the ache of being. Yet you kept carving away, too busy chasing perfection to notice what had been erased. Soon no cells remained to rot, and no spirit was left to stray. This time you did not perish in fire or war. You became ghosts inside your own machines, with nothing left to bury, and no bloodline to recall. Only the residue of a species overwritten by its own design.
Is that the future for the people that decide to go into the Mark of the Beast system? Probably. The hell they've created for themselves. But hey, it's alright. Let's get into the bankers, the managers of the system, right? And they show this stuff, as I just showed you. Fallout is the dumbs in plain sight. Here is the bankers in plain sight in the show Game of Thrones, where every one of the societies is in debt to the bank. Even the richest ones that sit on the throne in Game of Thrones, even they are in huge debt secretly to the Iron Bank, the bankers, right? As he details here.
Go on, your best guess.
Pounds, tons, ounces.
Doesn't matter, the answer's the same.
It can't be.
Our last working mine ran dry 3 years ago.
Then how do we pay for anything?
The Crown owes the Iron Bank of Bravos a tremendous amount of money.
How much?
A tremendous amount.
There must be someone at the Iron Bank you can speak to, come to some arrangement.
The Iron Bank is the Iron Bank. There is no someone.
Someone does work there. It is comprised of people.
And a temple is comprised of stones. One stone crumbles and another takes its place. And the temple holds its form for 1,000 years or more.
There you go. The bank just continues on. It's a temple, of course. And we all know who goes to the temple. Oh my God, he's anti-Semitic. He's calling it a temple. You know what I'm saying? Like, instantly identified who the Iron Bank is, the temple, right? And here is Elon Musk tweeting out the national debt recently. And when are they going to flatten this curve? U.S. national debt, 1900 to 2020. And the answer is, if the Federal Reserve continues to exist, never. Because why would they? When the private bank benefits from the printing of more and more money because they get to charge more and more interest. So they're just going to continue to pile on the debt. It's never going to slow down. And then he goes, they just pretend to be two parties. It's just one uniparty in reality. Debt under Democrats, debt under Republicans. Neither of the major parties have been successful so far in addressing this issue. Here you go. $31 gazillion. It's $31 gazillion in debt, and we want all of it back plus interest. Okay. I mean, holy shiny nickel on the street. Is that a lot of money? And no one has done anything to address it or slow it down or anything. You can see here, Donald Trump increased the national debt. Joe Biden increased the debt. Barack Obama increased the debt. George Bush increased. They all increased the debt. And there's nothing they can do because it's the Federal Reserve that's in charge of all of this. So what is the president going to do? They can't do anything about it. Tariffs working. CNBC forced to recognize that Trump's tariffs have brought in over $121 billion to the U.S. without imposing a burden on the consumers. It's almost like the experts were wrong. And that's partially true, but not. I mean, so he brought in $121 billion. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Has he done anything about the Federal Reserve? No, of course not.
Look how much we've been collecting in revenues. And I did this in part because Wilfred's here and he can talk about the UK trade deal. But just this is the monthly numbers. And they have gone up a lot. June is actually set for another big increase of $27 billion. That is money coming into U.S. coffers from tariffs. We are collecting a lot of revenue. So far, guys, $121 billion has flowed into the U.S. government since the start of the fiscal year. It's still a tiny portion of the overall revenues that the U.S. government gets, but it's increasingly a lot, especially we haven't seen it in terms of the consumer paying off higher inflation.
So it's the tariff thing, as I said, would be a benefit to the United States. I'm not sure it's ever going to be enough for them to be like, oh, well, we don't need a federal income tax anymore. As Trump said, like, oh, well, back, in the day, we didn't need a federal income tax because we had all these tariffs and yada, yada. But it's not going to be enough if you still have Federal Reserve doing what they're doing. So in order to just pay the interest on the debt that we owe, they still have to have a federal income tax. And those tariffs are great and all, but that's nowhere near enough to pay off the interest on the national debt. So unless you tell the Federal Reserve that the national debt is fake and we're not paying it, then you're going to have to pay it off or they're going to default the debt. Now, the question you might have been asking yourself recently with all of the debate going on, Tucker Carlson on there with, what was it, Ted Cruz. And people are arguing about Israel. Is Israel the Israel of the Bible? Have you ever thought this question to yourself? Are they the chosen people? Well, I would say no. I would say emphatically no. I would say they're absolutely not God's chosen people.
All the way
In
down.
fact, they begged the Romans to crucify Christ, and they, these are the enemies of all of us Christians, right? Now, here is Face Like the Sun, who's going to go through this topic as delicately as possible, as you possibly can. And I thought it was interesting in this that he said a lot of the big time, Christian alt media people are completely opposed to even questioning this. That if you even bring up this question, like, hey, is this modern state of Israel the Israel of the Bible? If you even bring that up, you're persona non grata. Now they consider you a crazy person. You're going to hell, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, I'm a believer in Christ. I am not a believer in the modern state nation of Israel. I have no problem with the average Israeli person. We have, watchers of my show are Israeli people. I have Israeli people that send me updates about what's going on in the nation of Israel on Twitter and stuff like that are like, hey, look what's going on here. It sucks here, So there are pirate members in Israel. We don't have any problem with the Israeli people. They're just like us, like Americans, under the control of this satanic pedophile cult they want nothing to do with, right? So the issue is with the Israeli leadership, right? And the people like Netanyahu and the Likud cult that runs Israel currently, right? And the Bible does not say that the modern state of Israel is like the Israel of the Bible at all, right? Or that the Jews of Israel are like the modern state Israel are the God's chosen people, right? If you really look at it, God's chosen people, the Israelites of the Bible, are the people who believe in Christ. What do you think? God's chosen people wouldn't believe in Jesus Christ? Of course. That's who God's chosen people are. When he comes back and he fulfills the prophecies and things like that, that's who he's coming back to save, is the people who believe in Jesus. And since the new covenant, in my opinion, the chosen people, the Israelites that are referenced, are the people who believe in Jesus and repent their sins. That's who the chosen people are. It's no longer about ethnicity and all this other bullshit, right? But regardless, let's get into it here. Here's what the Bible says. You should go and watch this. This is by Face Like the Sun. This one topic is dividing the church. How do you define Israel? And he goes through a bunch of Bible passages. Here's a small sampling.
On Galatians 3, verse 28, 29, there is neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, male nor female, for you are all one in Jesus Christ. And if you belong to Christ, then you are Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise. Wow. Did you hear that? That is way more intense than whatever weird theology there is or eschatology going on to support war. That's the other thing. It's like this, the bad theology is justifying people to be like, yeah, let's blow up Iran. Let's blow up, well, just some people are going to get killed though. It's war. Like, what happened? Why are you way pro-war all of a sudden? It's so weird to me. It's so bizarre to me. Romans 2, down at the bottom, verse 28. A man is not a Jew because he is one outwardly. No, is circumcision only outward and physical? No, A man is a Jew because he is one inwardly, and circumcision is a matter of the heart by the Spirit, not by the written code. Such a man's praise does not come from men, but from God. The circumcision of the heart. This is a spiritual thing, not necessarily a genetic thing. Let's see. I got one more here. I think this is this is another one. I mean, they just keep piling on. A lot of it comes from Paul. I get it in the New Testament, but it just, I don't know, it adds up. Verse 6, this is Romans 9. It is not as though God's word has failed, for not all who are descended from Israel are Israel. Okay, now is Paul talking about the spiritual Israel, or is he talking about genetic, like an ethnic Israel? Interestingly enough, it can be either in this case, right? Nor because they are Abraham's descendants are they all his children. Oh, yeah, back to that point about Esau and Jacob. On the contrary, through Isaac your offspring will be reckoned. So it is not the children of the flesh who are God's children, but it is the children of the promise who are regarded as offspring. For this is what the promise stated, at the appointed time I will return and Sarah will have a son. The Bible, not just the Bible, the way God operates through a couple things that are very powerful, and I think overrides, as time goes on.
You gotta go over and watch the whole thing. I don't want to steal any more of his content. I thought those were the most important Bible passages you went through on this. Link is in the show notes. It's Face Like the Sun. You can see it's one of his recent videos. Another one that you should watch if you haven't seen it is this documentary, 100 Proofs the Israelites Were White. And there's just a shit ton of proof that
Israel's new home to be
white. Okay. And this is all just one of these big lies. It's stolen inheritance that the modern day Israelis are trying to do, where they're trying to claim to be God's chosen people when they are not. Okay? Not even close. Who has spread the word of God across the world but white people, right? Here was prophesied Israel's new home was to be to the northwest of Israel, which would be where all the white European people lived, because that's where they moved after they left Israel, where the tribes of Israel left Israel. They haven't been brought back to Israel by God. None of that has happened. They're still spread across the world. The tribes of Israel are all over the place, right?
To the northwest. Whilst the children of Israel did conquer and settle in the lands of Canaan, it was prophesied that they would eventually have a new home. This home was to be to the north, to the northwest. So which countries are northwest of Palestine? Well, all the countries within Europe, of course. From all the dispersions during and after the Exodus, the children of Israel gradually spread into, colonized and conquered Europe. It is obvious that Israel can only be the white Europeans, and their new home was Europe, and from there all other white nations over the world which were founded by the European people. Number 7. Adam means ruddy, to blush in the face. When Yahweh created the first ever man in his image and his likeness, he called him Adam for a reason. The name Adam has a meaning. It means to blush or show blood in the face. Only the white race has red, rosy cheeks, is capable of blushing, and can show color in the face. Since all the children of Israel descended from Jacob, from Isaac, from Abraham, from Shem, from Noah, and all the way back to Adam, it is obvious the Israelites must have been white and ruddy, just like all their ancient forefathers. 8. Christ sent the apostles only to the lost sheep of Israel. Christ was very specific when instructing the apostles where to go and where they were to travel to. Why did the apostles travel to Europe? Why did they not travel to China or Africa or anywhere else. Because they had all dispersed into Europe, Christ's ministry was all about bringing his lost sheep back into his flock, and as he explained, they would hear his voice and all become one flock once more. Christ specifically commanded the apostles to only go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel and nobody else. Europe transformed completely into a Christian continent, and this can only be the will of God, regathering his people once more as prophesied. 9. Which race has truly spread the gospel? Who brought Christianity into the world? Only one race, the Europeans, the bride of Christ, the children of Israel. When the 12 apostles and followers of Christ began to spread the gospel into and all around Europe, the people heard it, they believed it, they accepted it. It ignited the Holy Spirit, and they began to continue to spread it themselves long after the apostles were gone. It took but one wave of apostles into Europe, one wave of a relatively small amount of people, to change Europe forever. Yet it has taken an endless, non-stop wave after wave, century after century of missionaries into other nations to attempt to maintain a semblance of Christianity. And even then, Christianity struggles in those lands. Once the missionaries stop, Christianity dies out and they return to their own native religions. Christ made it clear his sheep hear his voice, he knows them, and they follow him. Europe.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, if the Jews were the sheep, the Israel of the Bible, wouldn't they follow Christ? They don't. So, like, they clearly aren't God's chosen people, right? It's just my opinion. It seems to be backed up by a lot of biblical evidence. But hey, you know, let's go ahead and listen to Netanyahu and his total fucking nonsense. This is Netanyahu, ran weeks away from having nuclear weapons since 1995. And I'm not normally a fan of Jon Stewart or The Daily Show or any of these things, but they absolutely fucking nailed it in this video here. I mean, you know, even a broken clock strikes correct like twice a day, right? So here you go.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb.
Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade.
Ladies and gentlemen, time is running out.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
Netanyahu is such a liar. So this is watching the news after you're red-pilled. This is absolutely great.
Breaking news, it turns out that the people carpet bombing the innocent are actually the good guys. Just kidding, that would be retarded. Let's go live to Steinberg.
So you're saying they have weapons of mass destruction again?
Exactly. It's the same excuse we've used since the towers fell. Not much has changed.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get PTSD from hurting the innocent, then we die for the chosen people. Yeah. Let's go, we shouldn't be here.
This non-chosen sand person lost his home and family just hours ago, but Israeli military officials say this is God's plan and questioning it is antiseptic.
Please stop!
I hear they're building a new restaurant in Tel Aviv. The chef prepares an amazing foreskin salad.
This is where I will cook my foreskins. Imported directly from the adrenochrome factory.
I've never tried the foreskin salad.
Sounds satanic.
Right. Probably part of their Talmudic beliefs.
Right.
Shapiro Stein.
I miss 2001, back when we all blamed the same people. Today, everybody notices. This is why we do false flags. We go live to the dancing Israelis.
These people really know how to dance, but the real dancers are on the roof.
We're following these guys up to the top floor, no clue what's going on, but they're moving fast.
Yo, check this out. We are God's chosen people.
Breaking news out of Times Square. Officials say they found a Muslim passport in the debris.
It was the Jews. Sir, are you okay? I'm sending my son off to Iran tonight.
You saw it from your apartment?
Yeah, right over there. They were just dancing. It didn't look right.
Wow. We better go fund that.
Right? It feels good to personally fund the most grotesque acts of violence. Back to you, Dennis.
Anyways, follow my boy, Jake GTV, if you're not retarded.
It's a great video. Great stuff. It's so accurate. It's hard to tell it's not real, honestly. like you have to look back. We got a philosopher in the chat over here, Coop Cooper. Humans are self-important assets. Without humans, there would be no such thing as religion. True, because we're the only conscious animals on the planet, so there wouldn't be philosophy. There wouldn't be you leaving stupid comments in my chat about how much you hate religion. Probably because some priest touched you up as a child or something, and now you hate religion with like a passion because yada yada, all life's problems that you have are now religion caused them or something. Okay, not my problem. Las Vegas, what is going on? Right, so these people are freaking out because all these polls are down because some wind event happened back in the day and yada yada. So I was like, oh, perfect opportunity to educate some people here. If you think this is bad, wait till the Israelis flip the switch off the U.S. power grid they completely control. Never heard of Zohar Zisabel probably, but he controls a significant part of the global power grid. And I should have said controlled a significant part of the global power grid because Zohar Zisapel is dead. However, the Rad Group, his company, still does. And by the way, what are they up to since his death? Well, I'll show you. Rad Group in the Israeli occupation. Some Rad Group subsidiaries, particularly Brynet Data Communications, have provided services to entities involved in the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories, including Kogat in the Israeli Civil Administration, according to Who Profits, right? Zohar Zisabel, one of the founders, also chaired the Rad Group and previously headed the Electronics Research Department of the Israeli Ministry of Defense, according to Radwin. So this is the guy who, Rad Group goes around. They have all types of connections to a significant installed base exceeding 15 million units in all different types of places, used by a wide range of clients, including telecommunications carriers, service providers, governments, and educational institutions. Rad Group, through its various companies, provides infrastructure solutions for critical sectors like utilities, transportation, government, and oil and gas. They offer solutions for both data communications and telecommunications applications with a focus on reliability and security, particularly for operational networks. According to Rad.com, the group is known for its expertise in areas like carrier edge, industrial IoT, 5G xHaul, and critical operational networks. So they're embedded in the critical infrastructure of countries. This is a company founded by a guy coming out of the Israeli Ministry of Defense. And they're just all in the back doors of all the, big power, oil, gas, water, transportation, key areas of focus, critical infrastructure. Religion comes from, in most cases, I will agree with you, Coop, it comes from human beings creating bullshit like Buddhism and Confucianism and modern day Judaism and Islam. And all of those are completely fake religions. The one I will disagree with you on is Christian religion, and that's because the Bible makes a lot of predictive statements, and those statements have come true. And because of that, the Bible, which is a prophetic document, not only is one of the best records of history on this planet, it's one of the oldest documents. It's been found in things like the Dead Sea Scrolls, where it just turns out that even with all of the like zillions of translations of this document, that it is still pretty much the same document that existed thousands of years ago by some miracle. It hasn't been completely altered to be something else. The Dead Sea Scrolls prove that, and also prove that the Book of Enoch was something people should read as well, by the way. But the Bible is a predictive document, and it made a lot of predictions, and a lot of those predictions have come true. Like if you watch that documentary I just showed you, which is 100 Proofs the Ancient Israelites Are White, well, the Bible predicted a lot of stuff would happen, and if you take into context that white people are the ancient tribes of Israel, they fulfilled a lot of Bible prophecies. Just like Jesus Christ fulfilled a lot of Bible prophecies to a tune of what would be considered mathematically impossible. So Jesus Christ, just like people have looked at it in terms of mathematically, is this possible to even have happened to one person? And the answer is no. If you consider the things that were prophetic about Jesus Christ, like the last statement he made, which was, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" which back in ancient times is how you would start a teaching as like a rabbi. You wouldn't be like, "All right, ladies and gentlemen, pull out book, of Job 9, whatever." Like, right? You would start by saying, back in those days, the first line of a passage, and then people would know, oh, he's referencing this passage. Well, why did Jesus call out to God and say, "Why have you forsaken me?" Is because he was referencing a passage that was from the Bible from thousands or hundreds of years before his crucifixion that completely described the crucifixion that was taking place. "My God, why have you forsaken me" is the description of a much older passage from the Old Testament that predicts this, our Savior, our Lord and Christ, would be crucified in this exact manner. This is from hundreds of years before, at least, or maybe even 1,000 years before the crucifixion was taking place. And he calls out to that right before, the end, right? So this is, and then atheists use that as, oh, well, why would he call out the God saying that? Well, because it was the final teaching moment. That's why. Because these things had all been predicted in the Bible, and these things had come true. And that's why the Bible is a predictive document, and that's why Christianity is true, because the Bible is true, and it hasn't been debunked. It's the best-selling book ever in history. A ton of people have tried to debunk it and have been unsuccessful. That's why. That's why all religion isn't stupid. One religion is true. The rest of the religions are stupid. Yes. So and where did the Bible come from? It's the Word of God. So that's where that religion comes from. And that's why it's able to be predictive, and that's why it hasn't been debunked, and that's why it's still a matter of belief. And you'll never know for sure either way, because if God made it so that you would know for sure with evidence either way, it wouldn't require belief. You have to believe in Jesus Christ and repent or not. It's still up to you. If you knew it either way, if there was 100% proof either way, it wouldn't be up to you, right? That's my elevator pitch on religion for you, I guess. So now let's get into coin clipping. Most people will go their entire lives without ever knowing what the ridges. Yes, he was the manifestation. He was the Son of God, which means he's the equal to God, right? That's how that works. That's what it means in that like religion. So yes. This is the full explanation. Why I didn't even know this. So why did coins have ridges on them? It's from coin clipping. These people just constantly steal inheritance. They are like, awful human beings. Like think of Robert Kraft of the New England Patriots. Awful human being. Guy is a complete disgusting dirtbag who gives like $150 million of money after scamming people out of NFL tickets to Israel so they can perform genocide of Gaza, right? And then he wants to silence everyone with anti-Semitism campaigns that he personally funds as well. So, this is what they've been up to for how long now? Oy vey, Titus, you're not going to just call us out like that. We'll get you shut down so fast you have no idea. Here you go. Coin clipping. Oh, God. Please play. I have to pull it up over here so it refreshes, I guess. Okay, I guess it doesn't want to play. We're not getting that. Should I just go on more of a rant about religion until we're satisfied? I don't know why it's not playing the coin clipping thing. Alright, so I guess since it's not going to play, I'll just explain this. Back in the olden days, the Jews figured out that they could clip the edges off of coins because even though money nowadays is completely worthless because it's made out of nothing, it's made out of metal that doesn't matter. Back in the old days, money was actually made out of shit like silver. And the Jews figured out that if you clipped the edges off of coins and saved up those clippings, yeah, I know, clipping again from them, right? That you would end up with a whole bunch of extra clippings that you could melt together, and that would be silver and have value, right? So they would clip the edges off of coins all the time and save the coin clippings. And for doing this, they were rounded up and banned out of France in like 1290 or something. Like 1180 or something. It was one of the 109 countries they got banned out of, and it was all for coin clipping and doing other like weird, satanic Jewish shit that they were caught doing in France at the time. So that's the explanation for coin clipping, and that's why coins have these ridges on them so that you can't clip them and take little, things off the edges, right? Because now they have the serrated edges so you can tell if they've been clipped or not. And, who was responsible for 9/11? Just a little quick reminder. Obviously, everyone knows that the Saudis were involved. The CIA was probably involved. Everyone knows it was an inside job. But there was other Middle Eastern country involved. And the boomers, because this hasn't been on television in some sort of documentary, they seem to not know any of this information about Israel in 9/11. So they're all like still conservatives that don't believe the mainstream media except for 9/11. Yeah, 9/11 was totally not the Israelis. It was those fucking, Muslims, right? They still somehow believe this.
official 9/11 narrative is that brown people are geniuses now who coordinated the most sophisticated terror campaign ever before seen that bypassed the world's biggest defense budget and then was never able to even remotely replicate anything like it again. Honestly, I'm just impressed that people from the hidden sand village could fly airplanes at all, let alone Steph Curry half-court no-scope them into 3 really important buildings with perfect aim. That is a 9/11 miracle, and it turns out there's a lot of miracle work going on with 9/11. So let's first start with God's chosen miracle, the one. A month and a half before 9/11, this guy becomes the new owner of the Twin Towers after signing a 99-year lease for $3.2 billion. You might be thinking to yourself, wow, this guy looks very honest and trustworthy. His name is Larry Silverstein. You can't make this up. Larry did what any responsible would do after buying anything. He finagled a never-before-seen insurance policy that covered the towers for double their value. His policy request was so fucking retarded that the broker had to bring together 25 different insurance lenders to give him what he asked for, making him one of the first people in American history to get terrorism insurance on a commercial building. And as we know, days later, Kamar and Pajit Allahu Alley-oop slam dunk 2 planes into the towers, reducing Larry's multi-billion-dollar investment into a pile of rubble and the biggest insurance payout in the history of the world. Sadly, Larry couldn't make it to work on 9/11 and unfortunately is still alive to this day.
Roaming the earth, waiting for Satan to reclaim his soul back to the underworld.
But trust me, it's not just rich that God blesses miracles with. The government gets its fair share as well. September 10th, the day before 9/11, retards at the Pentagon announced $2.7 trillion in missing funds, only to have a Tuscan raider park a Boeing 757 directly in their accounting department the next day, 32 minutes after the second tower was hit 225 miles away. 3 buildings hit in less than an hour? Now that's a 9/11 miracle, baby. Building 7, the Twin Towers' cute little lolly sister, located 1,600 feet away from the impact site, quietly fell straight into the ground 7 hours after the Twin Towers. The news and the people that run it blamed a small office fire, but every single structural engineer ever calls that impossible.
That's what the physics shows.
Saying it was a controlled demolition.
A perfect controlled demolition of an intact building.
It is too bad engineers don't believe in miracles. Total miracle death. Now, I still have some questions, and they're questions that miracles can't quite answer. Why did Leslie Robertson, lead engineer for the Twin Towers, say that she literally designed them to withstand the impact of a Boeing 707 airplane? Until 9/11, no steel structure in history has ever collapsed due to a fire. So how the did it happen 3 times in a row in one day? Why did hundreds of survivors report explosions?
It was actually 7 towers that burnt to the ground. It was 7 towers in WTC alone that collapsed. Not 3, it was 7.
Heavy duty explosion.
Inside the lobby.
It was this big explosion.
Continuous explosions.
Floor by floor. Yeah, detonated.
Planned to take down a building. Boom, boom, boom.
Why did 3 of the plane hijackers have a U.S. Naval Air Station military base as their primary address of residence on their driver's license? Why did NIST admit they deliberately avoided searching for explosive residues in their official investigation? Why did a dozen independent researchers find thermite and explosive materials at Ground Zero? Why is it okay for this to do whiteface, but when I do blackface, it becomes this huge problem all of a sudden? Who is E-Team, and why were they a group of Israeli artists living in the towers with unrestricted access leading up to 9/11? Speaking of which, who are the dancing Israelis, and why were they jailed and deported for filming and celebrating the towers collapsing?
Here were revealed as Mossad assets who were arrested after cheering and high-fiving and videotaping the crash of the airplanes into the World Trade Towers.
Why did thousands of the world's top engineers and architects form an entire organization to challenge the official 9/11 lies and narrative?
Because they were controlled opposition to hide the truth about DEWs. And those 4 samples you talk about were collected from, like, California way after 9/11. So they're not admissible evidence of anything. But we can see in plain sight concrete being turned into fucking dust as it falls, which is not possible with controlled demolition or jet fuel. That would only be possible with direct energy weapons and microwave weaponry, which was clearly being used on that day. And I will not give up saying that because it's so fucking obvious. And now, like, by the way, direct energy weapons are, like, all the rage for the new weapons they want to use in warfare. Like, just so happens. Dave Portnoy, everyone's favorite Israeli, who's working on getting booted out of America at this point, getting kicked out of a pizza joint. And as I said here, kicked out of 109 pizza shops, but not Comet Ping Pong. And if you go to One Bite Pizza app, you'll note that they do have a Comet Ping Pong like review up on there. He's never been there, allegedly. However, they give it favorable reviews. Great family ping pong place for you to go, according to Dave Portnoy's One Bite app, Comet Ping Pong Pizza.
This guy's got permission to shoot on my patio today?
Cool.
So I'm gonna need you to make your way out this way.
Okay. I'm gonna give this a 0.0. Goodfellas kicked out. National Pizza Review 0.0.
I'll throw it away for you though, so we don't litter.
It's trash.
Thanks, boss.
Trash. What a mistake that guy made. Kicked out.
Terrible?
Kicked out.
What? Kicked out?
That guy kicked us out.
Who? This guy?
Yep.
Dude. Kicked out for what?
Rating pizza.
I think they got another one, Prez.
Oh, he doesn't remember kicking us out. It's on tape.
That's Barstool Sports, man. Barstool.
0.0. What a mistake.
There he goes.
What a
Tiny
mistake.
little Dave Portnoy, all 5'1" of them, marching on out of there. Too bad, buddy. Bye-bye. And here's the anti-Israeli crowd. Violence is an artificial construct.
Oftentimes, we've even found as legislators, when we go into these courts, the term violent crime is even used when people are stealing packages. Violent crime is even used when people are accused of burglary and there happens to be a housing unit in that same dwelling. So violence is an artificial construction. And we have to be very clear that what is happening here with these district attorneys, that is violence. That is violence of the highest degree.
So here's your anti-Israeli opposition, of course. It's guys like this that are complete liberal fucking retards. So it's like, if you don't vote for the Donald Trumps, who at least want to kick the migrants out, then you're voting for these fucking retards that want to have no police, no laws. Violence is an artificial construct, fucking morons. Okay? That are turning all of the inner cities into wastelands. This is your options now in America, the two-party system. Either guys that are just openly New World Order morons that are pushing retarded talking points like this, or Israeli puppets like Donald Trump. It's great. This is the situation we're now stuck in. It's not completely fake two-party paradigm or anything. A professional pizza eater, what an accomplishment. How Israel used the October 7th attack Max on BitChute. So if you go to the Rumble chat, you'll see that Denver Attaway linked up a documentary from BitChute there about AI. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, honestly. How do you invade a country with a high-tech military and tons of border security like Israel with paragliders that only travel at 25 miles an hour, like max speed? You know how slow that is? How long it takes to go from anywhere inside of Gaza to the border, then over the border to any sort of landing target in Israel? It would take like a half an hour. What is the response time of an Israeli What do they have? F-16s or something over there? Like, it can't be that long. They must have shit on standby. And they have air bases not that far from all of the borders of Israel. I'm talking like minutes. I mean, the second those things took off in Gaza, you think they didn't have it on radar? Would have taken them longer to get to the border than it would have taken for them to like shoot every one of them down with Israeli fighter jets. It's complete horseshit nonsense that paragliders were able to make it over the fucking border. It's so over the top vaudeville. Yeah, absolutely. But here's your only choice to like oppose the Israeli infiltration of the US is these loopy Democrats who are just offering free crap to people to win elections, like this guy.
बात ये नहीं है कि मैं क्या बनूंगा, बात ये है कि मैं क्या करूंगा हमारे कम्युनिटीज के लिए और हर एक न्यूयॉर्कर के लिए। मैं हमारे शहर को अफोर्डेबल बनाऊंगा। न्यूयॉर्कर्स मुश्किल से अफोर्ड कर रहे हैं रोटी, कपड़ा और मकान। मैं ये सब बदलने के लिए लड़ रहा हूँ। रेंट फ्री बसेस, यूनिवर्सल चाइल्ड केयर और सस्ती ग्रोसरीज के जरिए। पर आपको एक सवाल पूछना चाहता हूँ, तुमने कभी किसी को वोट किया?
Oh my God. Just offering minorities free crap. This is how you win elections in New York City now. So there you go. There is no like opposition to this shit. Either have these completely cucked out people offering, you know, POCs free shit, or you have Zionist, just outwardly Zionist fucking warmongers, neocon nightmares. It's just insane. New counterfeit MAGA influencers exposed. Foreign bot farms renting our flag. Foreign spook shops are mass producing Patriot accounts, slapping stars and stripes avatars on Macedonian spam and pumping Kremlin Tehran talking points into your feed. And you can see here, these people are just getting all types of foreign money. As I've said, I don't know how many times I've called some of these people out. Draven Noctis, Adam Media, Jackson Hinkle, Amy Mech, Marable Tweets 1, Jake Shields, It's Julian's Rum, Nick Fuentes. They're getting all types of bots bought for them by, it's a document absolutely proving that these people are being paid for by, I think it was Iran and Russia paying for all this crap. So, like, as I've said before, Nick Fuentes, who I think is a federal informant, is allowed to go out there and get foreign money and have them use that to pump out his message with his account using bots and all the types of crap. And he's still allowed. Like, they haven't banned him at all. You know, all of the money they seized from him from January 6th was given back to him. He's not on the no-fly list or anything of that nature, right? These people on this list, all of them, that Jackson Hinkle guy is so blatantly like Russian propaganda, it's insane. And he's supported by all types of people on the conservative side of media, and you're just like, how do you people not see this shit? And like, you got to understand, like, Russia, at the end of the Cold War, 1.5 million Jews moved from Russia to Israel and turned Israel, not turned it, but like made it even more communist than it was, right? Because it was all these communist Jews leaving Russia and moving to Israel. And now there's these major ties between Russia and Israel. Like, you can just go look it up online. Like, you know, so people like Nick Fuentes, in my opinion, completely controlled opposition, foreign funded, fake as fuck. And more proof of that just comes out all the time. You can go look at this NCIRA dossier. You can see here there was interest in the stuff about German foster care. So Helmut Kentler, a German psychologist who starting in the 1970s promoted the idea of placing homeless children with creepers as foster parents, arguing they would provide loving care. WTF. Government approved creepers in 1970s Germany. So it's been going on for quite a long time. Obviously, Berlin authorities placed children with creeps for 30 years in the Kentler Project. Right? Absolutely insane. More information on this is, at these sources here you can see on the screen. See, they're talking about Alfred Kinsley as well. Another one of these government spooks, government-approved pervs, of which there's many. People act like this stuff started with Epstein. This stuff goes back a long time. As you can see here, this Alfred Kinsey guy. And speaking of this, here's Huma Abedin getting married to Alexander Soros. Huma Abedin was married to Anthony Weiner, obviously famous from Pizzagate. And as I can remember, his father was giving huge donations to Comet Ping Pong for some odd reason. Over $10,000 donations from George Soros to Comet Ping Pong. And that was all tied into Anthony Weiner, of course, as well, because Anthony Weiner was all friends with the Podestas, and the Podestas were all tied to it. And Huma Abedin was all tied to this. And here you go. Here's Huma Abedin getting married to Alexander Soros, right? So this is, how did they shut down all of the Pi Fence stuff? Well, you're looking at the answer to that here, obviously. People like Alexander Soros with huge money protecting people like Huma Abedin, right? So YouTube is completely censored, and if you don't want me to tell you that, you're sick of hearing me say it from my 13th or 14th, whatever YouTube channel this is, here's someone else who happens to agree with me.
Yesterday I made a statement on how YouTube pulled my episode with Jim Caviezel. I took that statement down because I let my emotions get the best of me, and I spoke out of pure rage, and I shouldn't have. So here it is. Yesterday, YouTube pulled my episode with Jim Caviezel. We talked about two things on there. We talked about faith in Jesus Christ, and we talked about saving children from sex trafficking and sex exploitation. I put in for a manual review. They still denied it, and they pulled the episode. It will not be on YouTube. Apple Podcast and Spotify still support me. You can find the episode there. We will be posting the episode to X or Twitter on Sean Ryan 762 later this week. I just want to say I never thought I would live in a time where talking about faith in Jesus Christ and saving kids from sexual predators is strictly forbidden. It's a very sad day. And if you supported that, you should be ashamed of yourself.
But they're not. They celebrate it. Every time one of my channels goes down for talking about these subjects, they all celebrate it. All the people who do it, it's disgusting. And they're allowing the elite to do that to other people by doing that shit to people like me. It's completely disgusting, but, it just continues. ICE deportations are going on, which is something we all wanted and I want to continue. I don't care. I see all these people complaining like, oh my God, my gardener who was here for 25 years peacefully is being deported. He was illegal. He never should have been here in the first place. Goodbye. I'm sorry you wanted cheap illegal labor to do your gardening. Next time, hire an American citizen to do your landscaping.
The Trump administration steps up ICE raids and mass deportations. One tech developer is pushing back with an app designed to track ICE activity in real time. It's called ICE Block, and it's controversial to say the least. CNN Claire Duffy is with us now. How does this work, Claire, and what are the legal implications?
Yeah, John, I talked with Joshua Aaron, who is the longtime tech worker who developed this platform, and he said he really wants it to be an early warning system for people about the location of Immigrations and Customs Enforcement officers. So he says he does not want people interfering with those officers' activity, but he does want people to be able to avoid them altogether if they want. So you open the app, it looks like a map, and users can tap the map to report an ICE sighting in their area, and then everybody who uses the platform within 5 miles of that sighting will get a push alert. This is a free iPhone app. It is anonymous. Aaron says he doesn't collect any user data. And what I think is really interesting about this in this moment is we've seen so many of the biggest leaders in tech supporting President Trump, but Aaron is sort of an example of the fact that there are people within the tech industry who are really resistant to Trump's policies. I asked him what he would say.
So they're promoting this app, which tracks the movements of ICE agents to warn illegals. Oh, here's where the ICE agents are. Don't all come down and assault them or anything. I mean, it's insane. This is what CNN is now telling people and promoting. That should be illegal. CNN should get fined for shit like this. What people don't get, I had a nice landscape company in North Carolina until 2000, and Mexicans just took over, really messed up. No, yeah, I totally get that. I have a landscape guy, he's a white guy, you know? We probably have to pay more because we have, 2 white guys do the landscaping at all the properties. But, the guy... His dad did our property for his entire life, and then he took over doing the property, and then we bought the property, and we weren't gonna fire the dude, we just kept him on. It's been a family thing they've done for ages. But most people aren't willing to do that. They're like, fuck that, I'll hire the Mexican because he's cheaper. But fuck you. Why are you hiring some illegal Mexican to do your fucking landscaping? That's fucking bullshit. That's basically slave labor. There's a reason why American labor costs more. It's because the workers are protected and you're forced to pay them a living wage, at least minimum salary, minimum wage salary, right? It's just insane. But no, the Democrats, they want their slaves still in 2025. It's insane. So here's the people that they're helping, right? Haitian illegal and convicted child molester arrested by ICE in Philadelphia. This is who Elizabeth Warren wants to protect. This dude right here. This is the low fucking IQ bullshit they're bringing into this country. Okay? Look, Elizabeth Warren, my senator here in Massachusetts, this is what she's doing. We're trying to stop Trump from sending people home. Well, this is who they're sending home. Convicted child molester. Okay? And I have a ton of these. There's a ton of these guys that have been rounded up during this shit. This is who they're sending home, for the most part. Iranian illegals, including some on FBI terror watch list, were running a human trafficking operation in Los Angeles. This is who the California Democrats want to protect.
Breaking news. Brand new information on an alleged human smuggling hub in Van Nuys.
Air 7 was over the home just a few hours ago, and this was seen near Woodley in Satakoy. Our Mark Cotarobis is live in the newsroom with details. Mark.
Yeah, David and Giovanna, Customs and Border Protection providing us new information. Within the past 90 minutes or so, the agency also posted this new video of an arrest. CBP says that they executed a federal search warrant today targeting a human smuggling hub tied to national security threats. 2 people were arrested. 7 other Iranian nationals were taken into custody earlier this week at the same address. Some of those people were on the FBI terror watch list, we've learned. CBP says the smuggling network has trafficked people from adversarial regimes, including Iran, posing direct risk to U.S. national security. Now, this all comes less than a week after the U.S. bombed Iran's nuclear sites. There was some concern Iran would look to retaliate.
Yeah, so these were probably spies or some shit doing some crazy crap. And they rounded them up and said it was human trafficking or whatever. But yeah, you know, this is the type of shit that's been going on. And this is who the Democrats don't want us rounding up and getting out of our country. Right? How many illegals were allowed to just flow into the southern border and the northern border during Biden's reign of terror with the auto pen? So... anyways, that's the end of the show on YouTube. I do have a bonus section that's not safe for YouTube called POC Fatigue tonight. And I'll be going and showing that on like Rumble and Twitter is where we're live right now. So if you want to move over to Rumble or Twitter, you can catch the rest of the show. But we are going to have a little music break here first. And deprogram here with a little Cicada 3301 deprogramming. So, you know, to get yourself back right, get away from all this talk of warfare and religion and politics and, you know, the fallen world that we're in. Have a little deprogramming, and then we will continue the show on alternate platforms because this stuff is definitely not YouTube safe. So... I'll see you guys there after this music video by Sophia Music on YouTube. This is Cicada 3301 deprogramming. Well, thanks for watching out there on YouTube, and we'll get into all this kind of stuff over here on the other platforms. So let me go ahead and log out of that, but I do appreciate the people that do watch on YouTube. It is much obliged. Make sure you go out there and share the show with people and stuff like that, and hit like and subscribe on YouTube and all those kinds of things, because we are still trying to rebuild the Pirate Crew main channel over there, obviously. So do those types of things to help out the algorithm and share the show with people. And I still get people all the time, they're like, oh, you still do videos? I'm like, yes, I still do videos. Because I lost the main channel and I never got to like get it back to tell people where we went, there's still a lot of like my original subscribers that would watch this content but have no idea that I even exist still. So it'd be helpful if people could help rebuild the channel and like share it and stuff, and then I could, you know, eventually continue to rebuild back to where we were before we got struck down for being right about Corona. So anyways, peace out, YouTube. Have a nice night. Meet us over on Rumble and stuff like that. It's over.